thank you for the introduction, and hello and a very warm welcome to all of you. Thanks for joining us here for our Mobility Day at the Pepperl+Fuchs Online Summit. For the next about 25 minutes, I would like to talk to you about how mobility is a driver for the digital transformation. And in order to do that, we picked two major topics we would like to focus on. And one is the mobile worker concept, and the other one is digital products and services. So why did we pick those two topics? Let me start by asking you a simple question. When you hear the term mobile worker, what do you think about? What comes to mind? What do you envision? Well, I assume the answer today would be slightly different than it would have been 6 months ago. Unfortunately, many of us have been forced to leave our typical office environment for our daily work and move more into a home office-based environment. And if you look up the term or the definition of what a mobile worker means, then it is basically somebody who is doing his or her task for the most part from various locations, either inside or outside of their organization. And actually that's what we do now. Again, many of us are obviously forced to work from home rather than from our office as we were used to. So we all became already mobile workers. So the question is, what does it have to do with digital transformation? What is digital transformation anyhow? Digital transformation, simply put, means you're trying to solve a problem by the means of the ever so fast changing digital technology. And when I say solving a problem, what I mean is you basically take a process which you execute today by using pen and paper, and you transfer that onto an electronic system using electronic equipment. And by doing that, you basically transfer the process into a digital world. A couple of years ago, there was a survey conducted by PricewaterhouseCoopers between 35 and 40 CEOs of big global enterprises across the world, across all industries. And they were interviewed about their digital transformation strategies. And in particular, one question was, what are the main categories or the most important factors of their digital transformation strategy? And here's the result. And if we just focus on the most important 6 topics, starting at the bottom, cloud computing was named by 60%, then socially enabled business processes, Internet of Things, cybersecurity, data mining, and then the top category was mobile technology. Mobile technology was named by 81% of the CEOs as the most important category focus for their digital transformation. Now, let's look at a few more numbers. In 2020, it's estimated that 4.7 billion smartphones will be out there in the market across the globe. What that means is that basically 61% of the entire global population are equipped with some type of mobile device, some type of cell phone. It's about probably 70% of these 4.78 billion, which are smartphones indeed already. So that's, of course, very broad focus. If we narrow that down a little bit to the industrial world, then the numbers are much smaller, of course, but nevertheless still impressive. It's estimated that in 2020, there will be 7 million rugged smartphones be sold just alone in 2020. So that's only what's been sold this year. It comes on top of everything which has been sold already over the previous years. And on top of that, it's estimated that there will be about 4 million rugged tablets and PDAs sold as well in 2020. And again, when it says rugged, it means really rugged here. Yeah, so that's not the phone or the mobile device you typically buy in the store. This is really a phone or mobile device dedicated to industrial applications. So, what does it mean? In essence, it means the mobile worker concept is already there. The question is only to which extent. What are the key drivers behind this trend? Let me try to explain that with just two examples. One example is work order handling. What does it mean? Well, on the one hand, you have the workforce in the field, the task force which executes the job in the field, let it be installation, service and maintenance, repair, those kind of things. And on the other hand, you have the coordination crew, the manager, which determines what to do next. Now, envision there's, with this crew in the field, they let it be one person, and that is equipped with a mobile device, smartphone, tablet, or even a smartwatch. And there's the proper application on that device. Of course, it's connected online to a wireless or LTE infrastructure. And on this device now, that person gets the specific information. What's the next task? Where do I have to go? What do I have to do? When do I have to do it? And maybe even how do I have to do it? So there's immediate direction on what to do next. And it also allows then that person, once the job is done, to confirm that the job is done. And then immediately the next order can be dropped, and the person can just walk over or drive over to the next location where the next job has to be done. And if there's additional information necessary during that job, then of course that person can download that information, like instructions or data, while the job is performed. The other real-world example is actually aviation, refueling of airplanes. Up to this point, very often still a pen and paper-based process. So truck goes out, has the information about how much fuel to put on the airplane, somehow in paper available. Now imagine that information comes on a mobile device. So the guy has a tablet, and the information on to which airplane needs what fuel by when is all on this tablet. So he drives to the plane, fills up the fuel into the tanks, and once done, he confirms that via the mobile device. It's reported back online, of course, to the refueling company. And from there, the entire process, including invoicing, billing, is automatically triggered to the airline. And of course, the information about the fuel, the load sheet, goes directly via ACARS or similar system to the pilots in the cockpit. So no direct interaction necessary anymore, no need to walk up to the plane and hand the information over on paper to the pilots. All that is done through mobile devices, online communication. So I think just two simple examples which pretty much explain how these two factors, coordination, task execution, lead to operational excellence. And to summarize that, these are actually then the benefits you get from this. Simply put, first of all, you're faster by reducing traffic. Yeah? Traffic between different locations, whether it's walking traffic or driving traffic. You are closer to the action. Well, the guy is always there. He's always immediately there where he's needed. Troubleshooting can happen immediately there where it's needed, and if additional information is required or support is required, it can be provided directly through a mobile device. So that all leads to faster and better maintenance, and of course, hence to reduced cost. It also allows to much easier management of your internal and external resources. And last but not least, it provides implicit online documentation. So whatever is done is already basically documented electronically as part of the process, which then also makes compliance with any regulatory requirements much, much easier. Let's have a look at our role model or idol of a mobile worker. And this is how it could look like. A guy fully equipped with mobile devices, a rugged tablet, a rugged smartphone, headset, radio speaker mic, camera, and maybe even a smartwatch. And with that kind of equipment, he can perform all the tasks we just talked about and many, many more. I think what becomes obvious is already, well, the hardware by itself is not enough. It requires a little bit more than that. It requires software, apps on the devices, but it also requires a backbone system on the other side of the wireless infrastructure, so to speak. And that ties already into our second topic, which is digital products and services, and I will talk about that in a couple of minutes. Before we do that, let me just quickly mention 2 or 3 more cool applications for a mobile worker. One is lone worker protection. What does that mean? Well, somebody who has already a smartphone or a mobile device is out in the field. You can now use the device also as a monitoring or tracking device. It actually monitors the carefully said health status of that person by simply, in the most easiest case, simply watching for movement. If there's no movement, it will create an alarm after a certain period of time, of course, automatically, and will assume that because there's no movement, the person might be incapacitated, unconscious, something like that, and needs help. So the alarm is raised, goes directly to the rescue team, first responders. They can go out, try to help the person. And of course, they can find the person easily because all these devices are equipped with GPS transmitters. Another application, pretty interesting, is push-to-talk, PTT. It's already pretty common in North America, and it's now kind of spreading more and more into the rest of the world. And what that means is you basically emulate a classic radio communication system by using smartphone technology based on Wi-Fi or LTE, or in the future even 5G infrastructure. And the benefits is, of course, well, you might have a smartphone already anyhow, and now you can use that smartphone and basically replace the additional radio which you might need otherwise. And an additional benefit is also that you simply can now use radio communication, emulated radio communication, even across continents. You're not bound to just the limitation of the range of the Tetra communication system. And the last interesting use case or application is, of course, augmented reality. And I guess we're all familiar with that already. It's for sure still at the beginning of its installation or application in the field, but nevertheless very fascinating, and I'm sure it will be more common will become more common over the next several years. So I guess we all know what it is and how it works, but just again, you have a mobile device, has a camera, has a display, and you see on the display what the camera sees, obviously, which is the real world. And then you have a software, an application, which superimposes additional information onto that real world picture. And that information can be directions about where to go, to find something, which device needs maintenance. It could be which parameter to set, which button to press in order to install or set up a device. Very fascinating application, and again, I believe will become more common in the very, very near future. So let's talk a little bit about our second topic, digital services. And I touched on those, as I said, a little bit already. Let's start with an interesting piece of information. In 2025, at the latest, it's expected that more than 75% of all internet users worldwide will access the internet exclusively, solely through a mobile device and not anymore through a desktop PC or any stationary device. Now, again, while that is a broad statement which covers all applications, personal life, business life, it will also for sure affect the industrial business as well. So it brings the challenge that you now have to maintain, to manage, to set up these huge number of mobile devices in your organization. And in order to do that, what you need is digital services and actually digital products. And I will just focus on two of them briefly, and then my colleagues after this will certainly dive into more details. But just to touch at the surface here, what digital service means. Just imagine you buy a new smartphone, you all know that, and you try to set it up in the same way like your old one. Admittedly, now that has improved significantly depending on what phone you buy and what operating system you use. It's getting easier and easier, but still it can be a cumbersome process. And now imagine you have to do that with hundreds and maybe even thousands of devices. So what you want is you want to buy even an industrial rugged phone, you take it out of the box, and the only thing you want to do is basically turn it on, maybe enter a password, and that's it. It's ready to go. It has already the proper applications you want. It has the limitations you want, because maybe not everybody is allowed to do everything with the phone. It might have certain settings, which can even be dependent on where the device is used, at which location, geofencing. And that's what you want out of the box. And that actually is a digital service. Getting a device set up according to what you need, to your requirements, is a digital service. The system you need, or the tool you need in order to do that, is a so-called mobile device management system, MDM in short. And that is a classic digital product. It allows you to do all these things I just mentioned. And of course, it also allows you to maintain the device over time, over its life cycle. And it can pull statistical information out of the device. It can pull diagnostic information out of the device. And of course, it can make sure that the device is always up to date in terms of security. So again, just two quick examples of what digital products and services could entail. Besides that, there are a couple of others which I just briefly want to touch on. My colleagues after this will go in more detail for sure. So besides staging and enrolling, configuration and management, there's also analytics and diagnostics. Again, you can get potentially health information from the device. It can give you information about temperature, battery, whether it's time to replace the battery. It can give you information about the integrity of the hardware, IP, rating, hazardous area certification, might be compromised due to mechanical impact, those kind of things. Of course, you have applications for data capturing, scanning typically, alert messaging. We talked about the lone worker protection, that's related to alert messaging, and tools, which simply is a pool for all kinds of things which make your life as a user or your life as an IT administrator much easier. So with that, I'm actually at the end of my keynote here. I really appreciate your attention. I hope you stay online to follow us through the next sessions. And at this point, please allow me, I would briefly like to introduce Ecom Instruments as a company. before I hand over to my colleagues. So, ecom in brief was founded 1986, 34 years ago, and is a fully owned subsidiary of Pepperl+Fuchs since 2017. It started originally with flashlights, then got into measurement and calibration, which entails loop calibrators, multimeters, temperature measurement devices. Then into mobile computing, which was tablets, laptops even, and PDAs. And then finally, communication devices, cell phones, and now smartphones. All these products were always highly ruggedized and rated for hazardous areas. We have about 150 employees in our location in Assamstadt in southern Germany. And we also have an R&D team, small R&D team in India. And you can get the full support for our products, all the service you need through the Pepperl+Fuchs sales and service organization. With that, I would like to close my keynote. Thank you very much for your attention, and please stay online for the next sessions where we'll go much deeper into mobile worker applications and also how to use and apply digital products and services. Thanks again.